Legend of Zagor. Now this book is one of the most unique in the series in that you get the choice to play as one of 4 different characters. Each one of these 4 is who you could potentially be, and that of course is Zagor. And of course you've got a generic hero versus generic bad guy, but never mind that. Let's just take a look. Zagor, the very name of the Warlock of Firetop mountain, strikes terror into all who hear it. Banished from the world of Titan, the sorcerer is slowly but surely regaining his strength. Within Castle Argent, in the kingdom of Amalia, Zagor has been transformed into a demon. Such is his power, he must be destroyed. There are several adventurers willing to volunteer. Mighty Anvor the Barbarian, the warrior Praxis, Stubble the Dwarf, Salazar the Wizard, but only one will be chosen. Are you that hero? And this is by Ian Livingstone himself. It's not him and Jackson doing this, it's not them presenting somebody else's work. This is effectively a sequel to Book 1, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, as the blurb on the back just said. So let's just take a look. Illustrations by Morton McKenna. Now it gives you the introduction here, which I'll just read out. It gives you the choice of which of the 4 heroes to play. Anvor the Barbarian. As a barbarian, you are immensely tough and resilient. Hardened by years of living, hunting and travelling in hills and mountains, you are as skillful a fighter as any in the land of Amalia, and you are proud of your skill. You know almost nothing of the ways of magic though, and in all truth you don't much care for it. Magic is the affair of book-reading milksops. You prefer a good, clean fight, and you fear nothing and no man. Praxis the Warrior. Your name bespeaks your honour. It is the name of a long-dead Amalian king, and who knows, noble blood may flow in your veins too. You're as skillful a warrior as any barbarian, and while you are slightly less resilient, you are better able to use magic. Perhaps the most versatile of any type of adventurer, you are skilled with sword and bow, and able to use magical weapons to best effect. Stubble the Dwarf. Grumpy and tetchy you may be. Stubble trouble is a common warning among those who know you, but a tough warrior you certainly are. You have that native streak of good luck which many dwarves from Grundria possess, and when exploring dungeons and mines, you have some special advantages mere humans do not possess. You'll use magic if you have to, but you prefer to put your faith in your trusty axe. Salazar the Wizard. No bard will ever sing epic tales of your prowess with weapons, but what does that matter? You're a master of magic, and you command spells to avoid, confuse, weaken or defeat enemies. And you know how to use magical items in ways mere warriors could not. You're an adventurer of guile and stealth, and if you are forced to fight, well, you will not die easily at the hands of any enemy. By a quirk of fate, you have the same name as the one-time Grand Wizard of Amalia. In other words, your parents chose it for you, and you immodestly aspire to his rank, if not his tragic fate. I wonder what happened to that guy then. After that, you've got the usual skill, stamina, luck, and magic points. Now, each warrior has their own number. Anvor has 1, Praxis has 3, Stubble has 2, and Salazar has 7. And skill, stamina, luck, and magic will, of course, go up and down as things go through. You then have your battle system in place, which is slightly different. Fighting more than one creature, use of luck, testing your skill, testing your spot skill, magic point rules, and so on. That gives you quite a good bit of information about equipment advantages and disadvantages, special treasures, and so on. So this is effectively giving you multiple characters in order to play the game very differently. Adventure sheet, fairly standard, but you get one for each of the different characters as well. It also tells you the advantages. So Anvor's main advantage is that he can't be surprised. Praxis's advantage is that he can't use any weapons. He doesn't have any disadvantages. Whereas with Anvor, he can't wear plate mail, no bonus to attack strength with chainmail, subtract 2 from attacking strength with crossbow. Given the crossbow is supposed to be a weapon that does the work for you of actually loading everything up. You'd think somebody as big and strong as him would be able to use it. Now, Stubble has the advantage of adding 2 to his attack strength versus stone monsters. He can't use the longbow or any two-handed weapon, which doesn't really seem that true. I mean, let's face it, a battle axe is probably going to count as a two-handed weapon, isn't it? Salazar has the advantage of being able to add 2 to skill when testing spot skill. His disadvantage is he can't use metal armor, a bow, or any two-handed weapon. That's probably down more to his physical strength. Whereas the dwarf should be physically strong enough to wield a two-handed weapon, but of course that all depends. Now the artwork by Martin McKenna is quite sumptuously nice. I mean, when I was a kid and I was reading through these, this is one of the books I would turn to the most as reference material to try to improve my own drawing. I might start doing that again at some point because I do want to get back into art properly. And a very high level of detail. Okay, it's not the photograph by any stretch of the imagination, but my god, I wouldn't mind getting a hold of a colour print of that and having that on the wall. And again, a very detailed corpse lizard, because this is literally something that's been stitched together from various different beings. Quite a nasty looking thing, but again, beautiful to look at because of the level of skill and detail that's gone into it. We've got a rather powerful looking wizard there. It looks like it might be in some sort of mystical trap. We've got an orc being rather nasty to an armoured pig. Yeah, that looks handy. We've got a blind spinster, probably a witch. I'm not saying that she is, but she might be. Does she have a cat? Yes, she's got a black cat right in the corner here. That is, again, absolutely beautiful. Oh, yes, I remember this. Mungus. Another one of those corpses that have been strung together. My god, that guy is the stuff of nightmares. Look at the size of that hammer. Look at the size of that belly. Get in my belly, is what he wouldn't say due to copyright infringement. Or he might. He also might not even have the ability to talk. I've just kind of got the feeling that a tongue probably isn't one of the things that he's been granted stitching in wise. Now at some point you will actually be trying to cross the ocean at some point. You've got the captain of the ship there who is actually a rather small centaur. So I'm guessing it's a human body on top of a Shetland pony or something like that. And some sort of Wervin, which kind of has a more humanoid looking face than most fantasy creatures like that tend to have. We've got a rather devious looking elf there, some sort of thief, although I suspect that whatever's in that bag is probably a bit more than just stolen. Might be a bit fatal, possibly. Then we have the Chaos Champion. Now at the time of reading this particular book, I was quite seriously into the Space Crusade board game, which was derived from the Games Workshop Warhammer series. Now I've never been into Warhammer, I've never been into that much, but the first thing I thought when I saw this picture was it's a Chaos Marine. As it is, it's a Chaos Champion, which is essentially very similar. And again, my god, the artwork is outstanding. 2 zombies. I guess this is what happens when it's Ian Livingstone himself writing the books. He just hires the best artist, or by default gets the best artist because it's his series. Probably the same is true of Jackson as well. Nice little sleeping dragon. Not the biggest hoard of gold ever, but there's time yet to become the next Smog. Just make sure that you don't have any vulnerable spots. An ogre. Have I mentioned how much I love this artwork? The sleeping dragon again, this time. Notice that you've got this pillar of air, this hurricane type thing, just sort of keeping it suspended up in the air there. Magic. Oh, you've got a nice little trader here. My god, that would... If anybody was to create a video game based on this, you know, and you were going to have cutscenes where you go into the shop to buy stuff, this would need to be the artwork, the stock artwork that you would have in, say, the old video games, the old 8-bit and 16-bit games, where you wouldn't be looking around the shop the same way that you would in Skyrim or The Witcher 3 and whatnot. You'd actually have a special bit of commissioned artwork, you know, to actually show that you were inside the shop and what the shopkeeper looks like. That is absolutely gorgeous. The classic case of the skeletal remains of a dragon, and it looks like it's actually coming back to life to fight you. And that is fucking terrifying, and there's a chest there. Skyrim memories. Maybe Skyrim borrowed this from... Oh my god, Hellhorn Champion. The artwork on this is so memorable. Each time I turn the page, I'm automatically reminded of the first time I saw it. And this knight, this sinister knight, holding his sword in his left hand and about to grab his shield with his right. Notice that his left hand actually has a gauntlet on and his right hand doesn't. A ghostly night. Kind of reminds me of the bad guy from Ghostbusters 2. What was that guy's name again? Oh, I can't remember. The mummy. You can tell it's Egyptian because it's an Egyptian mummy with a sort of bird-like motif hung around its neck. Oh, somebody's a bit of a head collector, a head hunter. These must be the heads of a major corporation. Swamp Thing, da 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 da. You are amazing. That was the actual lyrics to the theme song from that particular cartoon series he had back in the day. The orcs really know how to throw a party, don't they? And there's even a zombie hanging around there too. And that looks like an elf playing the harp and some creature with a tentacle up to something. The Dark Knight. It's not Batman, it's just a Dark Knight. My god, this artist is just skilled beyond skilled. By far the best artwork I have seen in any of these books. Another elf, looks like he's practicing some sort of self-harming ritual. He's possibly into blood magic. More orcs again. Again, the style of orcs are very much in keeping with what I saw in Space Crusade, because as it was based on Warhammer, it made use of orcs as cannon fodder for the bad guys. And the designs on that remind me a lot of this artwork, so I'm assuming that McKenna, was it McKenna? Martin McKenna, yeah. I'm assuming he must have had either access to that same kind of artwork, oh my god, or he might even work for Warhammer or done stuff for Warhammer. I don't know, I'll have to look him up at some point. Bats. Bats amazing. I think, there we are, the man himself, the demon himself. Is this the last piece of artwork we got? Yes it is. So there we go, there's Zagor. Now, the thing I've always done with these particular books is I have spent a lot of time looking at the artwork, and it does tend to take a good while to actually flick through all of that artwork in order to get it all seen. So I spend more time talking about the art than the actual stories itself. But as it's written by Livingstone, it's got a very good plot line, it's very well thought out. The fact that you can play as one of 4 different characters basically affects the gameplay more than anything else. But I just wish I'd came across more books that actually gave you the option to choose a different hero each time. Now that's fairly standard in video games nowadays. In fact, that's been fairly standard in video games for quite a long time, to have the option to play as multiple different characters. Not every video game does that, obviously, but you know, that was, as far as I was concerned at the time, and when I first got this book, that was a fairly unique thing to this series of books. I've never seen any other fighting fantasy book or any other similar style of adventure game book that's actually done something vaguely similar to that, having different characters that you can play as. It adds replay value, it gives you different ways of playing the book itself. The outcomes will obviously ultimately still be the same, but that's true of pretty much any video game you play as well. Okay, so it does add something and doesn't take anything away. It just gives you more variation, so to speak. As I've said before, the artwork is absolutely fucking gorgeous beyond belief. There's one more book that I have left that I haven't reviewed yet, and I remember the artwork on that particular book being equally as nice and beautiful as this. That particular book is The Revenge of the Vampire, which will be the next review that I do before I move on to the new books that I've got. So between Legend of Zagor, Revenge of the Vampire, and The Slaves of the Abyss, those are probably the 3 books that I have that is, in my mind, has the best artwork out of the lot of them that I've got. As there's plenty of books that I don't have, I can't say that they are outright the best, because the other books might have better art, I don't know. But it's certainly very good artwork, which really draws you into it. It makes it feel that much more real, is all I can really say there. But yeah, I got to say, if you're looking for a good game book to play, this is it. You don't just have to play it the once as one character, you can play it several different times as each of the characters. If you're into art and you want some good art to be inspired by, or if you just want to look at nice art, this is one of the books that you should get for that as well. Definitely a thumbs up.